If you're a new arrival to Hong Kong, then one of the most jarring facts of life about the city is probably going to be the existence of domestic helpers. If you're coming from a country in North America or most countries in Europe, then the idea of having a live-in domestic servant is probably going to feel a little bit bizarre. But the simple truth is that domestic helpers are a very common sight in Hong Kong, with many households employing a maid or an other form of domestic servant. But if you have never had a domestic helper in your life, or if your home country is not a destination for overseas contract workers, then knowing what to do if you decide to employ a helper can be challenging. One area that is often overlooked is the issue of employment compensation insurance. Under Hong Kong law, any individual or business that employs any person to do any job in any capacity must hold employees' compensation insurance on that worker. This is because an employer is responsible for creating a safe working environment. If an employee is injured in the routine course of their job duties, it is assumed that the employer, whether that be an individual or company, is financially responsible or liable for the worker's injuries. Employees' compensation insurance, also known as workers' compensation insurance or simply EC insurance, protects an employer's liability towards employees who suffer an accident or injury at work. If an employer has to pay that financial responsibility out of their own funds, then it is possible that a worker may not get full coverage for the injuries that they are receiving. By mandating the purchase of employees' compensation insurance for every employer in Hong Kong SAR, the government ensures that no matter what happens to workers while they are on the job, employees will always have the support they need in a worst-case scenario. This protection also applies to domestic helpers. However, it often comes as a surprise to the employers of domestic helpers that they're actually responsible for more than simply EC insurance in terms of managing the risk associated with their relationship to their helper. Employers of domestic helpers are responsible for their helpers should that individual fall ill or suffer a personal injury during their employment period. Under the standard employment contract, an employer is accountable for offering free medical care to their domestic helper following any injury or personal injury. For example, this can include things like medical consultations, inpatient treatments at hospitals, emergency medical care, or really any health care that the helper may require. Although the helper is required to accept medical treatment offered by any medical practitioner registered in Hong Kong, it is the employer who is responsible for covering those costs. Domestic helper insurance in Hong Kong will always start with the mandatory employees' compensation insurance protection. But from there, it's largely an employer's choice as to how expansive the coverage will be that they obtain for their domestic helper. This type of policy can be extensively customized to give you a broad and comprehensive level of protection against most of the risks associated with having a live-in domestic worker in your house. That's us for this week. As always, we hope you have a happy and healthy weekend. Remember to like and subscribe to stay current with all our content as it comes out. And don't forget to ask CCW. We're simplifying your insurance.